Anyway, so let me kick things off with Sylvie's Love, right? So what it is about. Well, first of all, it's directed, was actually written, produced, and directed by Eugene Ashe, right? I haven't seen anything from this director at all, but the big sell for me seeing for me why I saw this in the first place was McGill Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, I go wrong.
Yeah, she's the stardust.
I took wrong with Tessa Thompson. I didn't get a chance to see this.
Okay.
But yeah, you'll have a review. I just didn't find time. But
All right. Well,
yeah.
but that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what is about? It's essentially a throwback to old school romance films, right?
Right.
Specifically from the 50s and 60s. Well,
Right.
the era it's set in is the 60s, but you could tell that they're going for the 1950s sort of Douglas Kirk kind of films, basically, right? Where it's lots of color, lots of music, and just a really nice story. That's a nice romantic story, right? And
Yeah.
essentially, it just centers on the character of Sylvie, who is played by Tessa Thompson, right? She meets this saxophonist called Robert Holloway. He's part of this band, and he well, basically he's just a student of jazz, right? But he wants to make jazz a full-time career, right? Which is funny because the next show we're going to talk about has a similar character, right? But he's played by Namdi Asomoga. Sorry if I got the name wrong, right? But he's a former American football cornerback as well. He's a producer. But yeah, this is the first time I'm hearing about this guy, right? But I swear I saw him before in another show. He just has this face about him, right? But yeah, so one night while he's at this performance, actually, Sylvie's outside waiting on I believe is on her cousin, right? And yeah, they meet and they talk and sparks fly basically. But it's revealed that Sylvie's husband actually went to the Korean War to serve there. So she's just there, not so much on her own, right? She has a mom, but she doesn't really stay by the mom that much, right? The mom is, I don't want to say bougie, but she has this those schools that teach girls how to be prim and proper and all that kind of stuff.
Right, it's that, yeah.
Yeah,
right, I get it. Like these finishing schools effectively.
That's right, yeah.
Right.
And it's interesting too because she is African American, right? So yeah. Also her dad, who is played by, well, I didn't expect to see him in this, but he's there. Lance Reddick, when last.
Okay.
Yeah, he in this, and
The last time I remember him is one of the funniest bits on the Eric Andrews show. Oh my gosh.
Oh, he was in that. Okay.
He had one bit on it, and it's one of the funniest bits. You had to see it. I mean,
I'll
so
check it out.
Yeah,
I'll check it out. Yeah.
I mean,
but
is he perfect kind of insanity that I love? But yeah, you gotta check it out. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, but what I like is how normally he would play like these stern characters, not like where you saw like in The Wire or Fringe, for example. But he's just cool. He's laid back, right? And basically, he is this owner of this record store, right? So was a former saxophonist as well, but he sells records, right? Of course, it's jazz and bebop, and because that's the music of that era, right? But yeah, essentially, it's just about Sylvie and Robert. It's about their relationship. He is aware that she is married, but it's just there's still something about her. She's a little reserved at first, but she opens up to him. And not surprising, the husband returns, and there's a child involved, and it's just a matter of whether she will stay with the husband or she'll go back to Robert. But at the same time, Robert is going through his little drama as well, just mainly trying to keep his jazz career afloat, right? Times are changing. People don't want to listen to Charlie Parker. They want to listen to, well, as in one scene he mentioned, they want to listen to Stevie Wonder. He's this blind kid, who's blowing up the charts basically, right? And yeah, it's just him wanting to pursue his passion, him knowing that that Sylvie has her own passion because she's very much into TV. There's scenes with her watching I Love Lucy, and she eventually gets his job working behind the scenes on this cooking show basically. And it's just like, I don't want to hold you back from your dreams, but at the same time, I know you're the one, right? And that's essentially what it is.
Yeah,
so
that's an interesting dynamic. People, sure what kind of, the whole true love thing, and to make that work. It's good drama.
Yeah, it is. And at its heart though, this is a very sentimental, very, very sweet romantic drama. Like I
Right.
said, it really harkens back to old school romantic films of like the 50s and 60s. And yeah, that's essentially is what they're going for. It's very, very sweet. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
saccharine, but not too saccharine, right? And like there's drama, but there's no like tension, there's no violence or whatnot. One could just
Right.
kind of kick back to it and just feel its warmth, right? 'Cause, yeah, this is a
Right.
very
Right. Right.
warm film, right?
Yeah.
And I would imagine, because I mean, I don't want to call myself cynical, but at the same time, I'm not that big into the genre of romance. Like I would say, like I have
Well,
like the great ones up there, but it's not to say that I'm some sort of romance movie connoisseur. So I'd
right.
imagine connoisseurs will watch this and be like, yes, I know what's gonna happen. This is a trope. This is a cliche. Been there, seen that. Blah 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 blah.
A lot of people
You
like the throwbacks and the thing. So I like I didn't care for or La La Land, for example. Um, but like it had a ton of people who loved it because of it, just the sheer nostalgia of it, or even Green Book, right? Didn't care for Green Book, but it catered to an older time of cinema for a lot of people, and that's
yeah.
why they liked it. It catered to an older
Mm.
audience. So I know that's a thing. Like there's a that older Gen X baby boomer crowd who really now started to you know, they started to age out, but not really yet. And you have these movies that would have worked for them. Again, the more younger baby boomer, older Gen X, and it'll work for them. And I can imagine for older black audience who never get a chance to see something like this, it could work. So that's why this could click. I can imagine, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. You're
yes,
you're
that
you're absolutely right. Because
yeah,
the funny thing is, when it comes to like representation of black love, though, like in
exactly,
Hollywood cinema, I
exactly,
could only think of the '70s onward. I can't
right,
help but think about the '70s onward. You know what I
exactly,
mean?
exactly,
Like Lady Sings the Blues, Mahogany, stuff like that.
right,
And usually stuff centered on music, right? Soul music and whatnot, right? But I
yeah,
dug how it was, in this case, it was centered on jazz, it was centered on bebop. And yeah, you hear some top 10 hits, but lots of hits, right? And yeah, the jazz music itself, the original stuff, quote unquote, yeah, sounds lovely. I mean, if you're a jazz head, you would just love the music in this, right? But yeah, this is essentially what they're going for. They're going for that old school, just
yeah. I
warm
can
feeling
imagine
film.
it's Black Breakfast at Tiffany's. That's the idea, right? So it's
Right,
that
exactly,
aesthetic.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
and
aesthetic and
as you
that
say,
taste, right?
breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah,
Yeah, you could look at Tessa Thompson and be like, you're like the black version of Aubrey Hepburn. You know what I mean?
yeah,
By
yeah.
the dress that
Because
she have on, this blue dress. From the moment I saw, it, I was like, yeah, that's an Audrey Hepburn kind of vibe again.
yeah,
Yeah, I
but
love this.
the only person who was kind of like that in the time was probably Dorothy Dandridge, maybe Uta Kitt.
Right.
That's and just the mere fact there was black there was out of the discussion. So I can
Yeah.
imagine a lot of people want to play this kind of interesting kind of catch up of we never get a chance to see this, even though aesthetically a lot of us move past it. We just never got a chance to see it. And a lot of older filmmakers and even younger filmmakers who want to cut their teeth on some material could do stuff like that, right? I mean, it's why Lovecraft Country works so well, in my opinion.
Yes. Yes.
Stuff like that. So I could it's a good, interesting platform for potential black cinema and black filmmakers to come up in. So stuff like this, I have a big, hype for. You know,
Right.
I have no problem, even though aesthetically it's not my vibe, but I can see a lot of people, going for it.
Yeah. I
Right,
understand
right,
because
right, right.
yeah, for some people they might be like, yeah, like I get, but
Right,
it's too old, quote unquote, or too
right,
nostalgic for me, right? As
right,
especially
right.
like if you grew up on films like that. But I don't really have any problem with that because mainly because I really haven't seen like while I was watching this, I was just imagine if this movie came out in the '60s. You know what I mean? This would have done well, hopefully, excellent
That's the thing.
box office stuff there.
That's the
But
thing.
the fact that we
It's
had
a
to wait till
weird,
now to see something like this,
right.
it's weird.
It's a weird piece of aesthetic. Like you see the callbacks, and you could make an argument of like, okay, I know some super like incredibly bad faith actors might say something like, oh well, this is black people ripping off thing because we do this 60 years ago. But I would argue that they just a lot of people just didn't get a chance simply because it was black, right? It's that it have that
Yeah,
kind of weighted aspect of it. And here's the thing: the next movie we're going to talk about has that undertone to it, right? In fact, even the next movie after that we're going to talk about has that undertone of at what point somebody should get a chance to do something, and I don't know. There's a kind of inherent injustice in this in that paradigm. But we're getting too deep with this.
Yeah.
Just go ahead.
Well, I would say though, like in terms of that, one interesting thing as you brought this up is that the film, like on the undercurrent of it now isn't bitter, it isn't cynical. It's not like,
Right, 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 right,
oh
right,
well, now we have to wait till 2020 to see this on screen. You know what I mean?
right, right.
Why could this be a thing in the 60s? You know what I mean?
There's a yeah,
That kind of idea.
there's that. I haven't seen the film unfortunately, so I couldn't like discuss it particularly. But when I saw the trailer and what kind of film I expected to be, because I'm not expecting it to subvert the genre, other than the fact that well, it's black characters. Like that's it, right? Um,
Yeah,
and
that's it.
how
That's it.
how incredibly cynical and pessimistic even my take on it of just the mere fact they're black that makes it subversive somehow, and it shouldn't, right? So we'll we could get into that dimension of it. This deserves a deeper discussion. But the next film is going to bring that up, right? So,
Right, right, right.
in
It
fact,
will.
and I would argue even well, I can repeat it myself. We could just keep repeating this trend. So I'll drop more of my pseudo intellectualisms here later on, right?
Right, right, right.
Right,
But yeah, like I say, I can't be mad of what this film offered. Right, it
right,
stuck to its guns. It delivered exactly what it says was. It was very sweet. It was,
right.
what I mean. It wasn't trying to be some kind of cynical look at, oh well, look at how easy we could make a film like this now. Imagine how hard it was back in the 60s, right? It doesn't have that sort of cynicism to it. It stays to the point, and it just really tells a very simple, very straightforward, but just really nice and warm story, man. I thought that
Right.
Tessa Thompson, of course, she was great as Sylvie. I dug her, reservedness at times, but ever so often she'll come out of her shell, and it's warranted. You understand why she
Right.
moves this way.
Right.
It's not in a way like she's trying to, backslide from she husband. At the same time, it's like, where's her husband, right?
No, but I
It's that
there's
kind of thing. It's that
it's
kind
an
of,
interesting
romantic,
yeah, it's an
subplot.
interesting it's an interesting discussion to talk about because something I myself have not like thought about in terms of in the angle of how to frame this way. It's an interesting human story, but from an entirely feminine perspective that you don't think about it unless you're thinking about a feminist story because this doesn't try to be a feminist story. It doesn't really
No,
try to
no.
be even implicitly, but there's an interesting dimension to that I would like to see brought up. Like I haven't seen the film, so but when I was seeing the trailer
All
and
right.
what it meant, especially Tessa Thompson as a person and her public life, and who
Yeah, yeah,
we've seen
yeah.
her without and well in today's world she's on the cutting edge of that, right? Of what kind of person she is. Because I look at people like her and she's really feel like somebody who is a product of the future, right? A person of the time, and she feels like a genuinely progressive figure that doesn't feel contrived or political. She is who she is, and that is one of the reasons I have a massive amount of respect for her as a person. She just feels like, and it doesn't feel contrived. It feels authentic. She feels like that kind of person. And for her to fill this role, it's interesting to see her fill this interesting space with this film. Now, as I said, I ain't seen the movie, so I'm about thinking. Anyway, I'll finish the review now and tell my rating.
Yeah, well, interesting point here, but I don't think that she did this, for some purpose to sort of, to show some, what's the word I'm looking for, to contradict the message of what's going on. Like, I don't think it's like that, or to be
Right.
provocative like that. It's like I say, it's just this simple, straightforward story. But and also the way how it's shot as well. To the it has this film look to it, this film stock look
Yeah.
to it. Not
Right.
too noticeable, but like if you look close, you'll see it. It's post production stuff though, but it just kind of adds to that whole '60s feel to thing, right? That '60s feel to thing. Sorry. But yeah, and I even thought that the guy, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name. Sorry, who played Robert Holloway. I thought that he was great as well, and just the chemistry that they have too is just amazing, right?
Right.
Along with Lance Reddick, there's also Eva Longoria. She makes her appearance as well to MC Light, who honestly I
Okay.
didn't even see in the show. Like I saw a name, but I was like, where were you? Even notice you at all. So I
Right.
gotta watch
Okay.
it over because MC Light now. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I would say as a whole, I thoroughly enjoy this. So this is in my top 20 for sure, not top 10.
Yeah.
Just mainly because it just stuck to what it is. It did, you know what I mean? And it was just this really sweet story, right? Which you don't see much of these days, and it didn't feel disingenuine. It felt like it was from the
Yeah.
heart. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was. really try to represent something that could have been on screen decades ago, right?
Right.
So just kind of put you in that chair, sorry, put you in that seat of that theater back in the 60s where a movie like this should have been a reality. That's what it is.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't be, and yes, it does borrow, it is very familiar. I don't want to say
Yeah.
derivative, just familiar, but it's not in a bad way. It's just, this is how the story is. So I'd imagine if you are, if you some sort of romance film, aficionado, you could pick, you could tell, oh, this is when the husband gonna come and this is when this decision gonna be. But it's like, no, shut up. This is your genre, you love it, right? But for someone like me who not, you know, die hard a fan of it, I still wound up enjoying it, and not just because it's black actors, but just because of the story and just how genuine it was, right? So,
Right. Right.
yeah. So all in all, I'm gonna give this a strong 4 to 5.
Nice. Right.
Strongly recommend that you check it out. It came out actually a couple of days before Christmas, so I checked it out. Well, today at the time it's recorded, I didn't even watch it
Okay.
Christmas Day. When I watch Christmas Day, one of the two shows we're gonna get into is Soul. But yeah, other than that though,
Right.
it has a nice Christmassy feel to it when you really think about it. But yeah, other than that though, regardless of whether you watch a Christmas Day or whatever, yeah, give it a look, man. It is really a really strong, well made film. And I would love to see more people, seek it out and, talk about it too now. It deserves the praise. I really think that it deserves the attention as well.
Yeah.
All right, so let me talk about Soul for a bit, man.
Sure.
Yeah.
Um.
So Ricardo, if you don't mind, take it away. What is Soul, i.e., the new film from Pixar
All
that
right.
was supposed to be in theaters but
Sure.
came out on Disney Plus?
Right.
About.
Yes. Right. Soul is about Joe Gardner. Um. He is this middle-aged middle school music teacher. Never really kind of blow up in his life or make it, kind of chasing his dad's shadow in terms of music. And not really necessarily an underachiever per se, but just, just never really blow up or get his shot. One day he's called by a former student of his who called Curly, and well, they have a nice little joke with it. Um, because when you see what Curly looks like, um, he gets a shot. He gets a little basically a kind of quick little short audition with forget the woman's name, yeah, because she's not a real person, so I can't remember you off the top of my head.
This would be Dorothea Williams, who is played
Right,
by
yes,
Angela
right,
Bassett.
Dorothy, right. So yeah, this jazz lesson, Dorothy Williams sax lesson, and what she gave him, well, he got a shot. She kind of, she real cynical and kind of thing, and she say, where you want to teach, calling him teacher. It's like he starts, he goes into the quote unquote zone, which becomes relevant later, a kind of state of flow. And then, well, he had to fix up himself, get a suit, he had to audition that night, and then he dies very suddenly by a freak accident, falling into a manhole cover. Manhole wasn't there, manhole cover wasn't there, he fall down the manhole, he dead.
Yeah,
And that's the
it
story.
happens. It happens.
Right, that's the story. And he now have to like get himself out of trouble. Like he got to get himself back on life because well, he finally get his shot. He can't believe it. He can't believe he dead. So you don't want to go to the quote unquote afterlife, and I forget what they call it, the great beyond, which is come across like basically a firefly, what are the firefly killing type um, thing. So it's called it bug zappers.
Yeah. I know you talk
Yeah,
about the box
right.
upper.
And he doesn't want to accept that because like look, you now blown up in your life, what the hell, right? And that's pretty much the scenario. He falls off of that tread thing and falls into um well, we kind of start the movie now, but he falls and then he meets a character called 22, number 22 apparently.
Yeah,
And
played by Tina Fey.
yeah, voiced by Tina
Well,
Fey. And
voiced. Sorry. Yeah.
right, and then basically what happened is that he accidentally, well, through some fakery, some false impression, he pretends to be some dead psychologist who was supposed to be Tina Fey's quote unquote mentor, because Tina Fey is someone who hasn't been born yet. She's a conscious soul who hasn't been born yet and doesn't want to go to Earth because she's incredibly cynical about all the suffering and potential suffering and ideas in there, and then the two of them kind of connect and go together. And that's the story. It starts from there and then it builds from there. And it goes in places I didn't expect it to go.
I know, right?
but but the and well, when we get to there, I'll have a small, not a nitpick, But there's a small issue I have with the movie, but not a big, doesn't kill the movie for me. But yeah, it goes in strange places. It has interesting emotional arcs, and I really enjoyed it for what it was. It was strange, like because I didn't think it would have mixed two things really well. And then, well, the main thing I appreciated so well about it is that, well, Pete Docter did the directing, but it was co-directed by well, someone who I hold near and dear to myself, Ken Powers, right?
Right.
Um, he, he has done some work on Star Trek Discovery. He's done some work on doing work on a movie that I am very excited to see coming up soon called One Night in Miami.
Oh yeah. I'm really excited to see that too.
Right,
A
yeah,
Regina King's film.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, he wrote the play from what I understand.
Oh, word. Okay.
Um, yeah, and it's I don't know. The man is like a supreme talent though, and it's shocking that he blew up so more in Hollywood. But he will come into come. And this was a movie halfway. I keep thinking, it feels like it feels in a sense a kind of the anti-Ratatouille. Ratatouille,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. No, Ratatouille is a movie I absolutely love. It's probably either number one or number two Pixar film. It's
I
fluctuates.
remember.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of my favorites. And but what that film was about, who could be in a position of success and why not, right? They get into that, right? That's the whole point. And this now says, all right, well, I take that one step further, but kind of subvert that message in a sense, and then run with it in an interesting way about the idea of purpose. And that's where I really appreciate it because the movie and it feels like a kind of spiritual sequel of Inside Out in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Where it's about, I don't know what to say. There's a very humanistic aspect of the story of, well, what is purpose? Why does you care about the purpose of things? Is it to do a task or be good at something or something like that? And the movie just kind of doesn't really, give a clear answer onto that, but it says, well, it's not necessarily what you think it is. And that's what I like, right? And that's what the movie, really, really strong. The second act I found a bit questionable, but I didn't have a big issue with it. This is when they come to Earth, and then they get into a dimension of the story which I don't know how to feel about because again I'm a little too old for it, but there's a certain character I felt was a little superfluous, and I felt like I didn't really care for or a cut. That character didn't really work all that well for me personally. I felt the story could have played out without him, but that's
Okay,
about it.
I know what you're talking about.
Right?
And I want you to finish what you had to say, but to
Yeah.
me, that was well, we have to have this character because it's a Pixar film. We
Yeah.
have to
It's
have
it,
that
it, it's a
sort of. I don't even
yeah.
want to call them an antagonist, but we have to have that
No, no,
type of
no.
character.
No, no, it's not the antagonist of the story. I don't think it's him. It's not him. It's a character who just felt like a plot device more than anything. That's all I'll say. Um,
Okay.
right. And it's the person who kind of teach them about something, and it was a little too much.
Oh, right.
Too
I do you
it
talk about
right,
it. Yeah,
and
I was a little
right,
lost with that. Yeah.
right, and right. So the character I felt was a bit expository. That was my problem with the character.
Mhm,
It was a
mhm.
little too, hey, let me explain everything to you, expo dump type. And I like the idea of the character, like it was, but they could have done something more interesting with it. And the joke kind of rubbed me the wrong way because it's a joke that here's the thing. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to write some 50 Twitter thread about it or anything like that. But I can imagine someone doing it. And what they may say, again, speculating about the nature of Twitter, of course, I should get off of that website. Um, it does kind of play on the whole mental health slash psychonautic aspect of the story. But because of the nature of the story, and it's for kids, I'm not gonna like fight it down. I don't really have a problem with it, right? It's kind of like complaining about the homunculus fallacy in Inside Out, right? It's like that. It's a nitpick, not a big deal, but I don't know, I would have probably that character didn't really gel too well for me for certain reasons, but for adult reasons, right? It's for how what it is. Are they saying something about making fun of mental health? I'm not really too sure. I don't know how to feel about it. But other than that, the core of the story is very good, very strong. Yeah, I personally really love this. I have no idea if kids will appreciate this, but they might. But and I thought the arcs would have gone somewhere else with a couple other characters. But I thought it was pretty fine for what it was. Yeah, I thoroughly love this one though.
All right, well, here's the thing, right? That's just brief little intro before I get to what it is I have to say. Well, my thoughts on the film, sorry.
Yeah.
So prior to just me getting ready to watch the show, pull up the wiki page, and I see computer animated fantasy comedy drama. I was
Okay.
like, comedy drama, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I would think about the word drama being in a film associated with Pixar, right?
Right.
So as I was watching the show, I was expecting it to be your typical Pixar film now.
Yeah.
And I was noticing the characters and how quote unquote realistic they were, how they bounce off each other, the world, how real it felt and whatnot. But then also too because well, if I have one little gripe, not too big of a gripe,
Right.
is that it's not as funny as you would expect it to be. But
Yeah.
even the
Exactly.
jokes that there, they don't always hit as hard as you may think though. Like the funny, you know, I chuckle a bit, but they're like you're not cracking up laughing at it like you would expect from
Yeah.
early Pixar films now. And at
Right.
first I was just like, all right, well, okay, clearly Pixar trying to do something different. They're trying to be a little bit more mature, not edgy, but just more mature, right? And I go
Yeah.
along with it. I go along with it. Just watching things play out. Not too sure if I like this. Not too sure if I like the whole reincarnation stuff. Not because of
Right. Right.
beliefs
Right.
or whatnot, but just you know the annoyance of the character and whatnot. That would be
Right.
22. At first she
Right.
was on the news, but then I was like, okay, now I
Yeah.
start to
Okay.
understand where she coming from in terms of like understanding life and all that.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I know. You see,
Yeah,
that's the problem. It's super hard to judge this at my age.
right. Yeah,
I really want to. That's the problem. I have to like see what, say, I don't know, like a maybe well, I don't know what's the age direction for the Pixar, but I'd like to think 10 to 40, right? About that, right? Maybe,
well, I
right?
would
I
say
don't
like
know.
about 7 or 8 though to
Right. So
40.
I don't know which, like, that's thing, the material and you as a character. I'm not sure how much people are attached to this character. And then 22 there's a lot of great subtext about 22. Like, I like what 22 kind of represent as a person who hasn't started with life in a sense, like quote unquote started with life, but really it's talking about a young person because there's another character in the story that um into the story that I thought they would have done more with. And they didn't do anything with her. She just kind of come and go on, and it was more about 22 in relation to her. And I felt what the subtext was pretty interesting in terms of, well, how a lot of people just afraid of life and don't want to try and have all these things, but they don't want to do. And that there's an interesting back and forth about that. So I don't know how to think about it, and I have to like I had to do like I probably had to do just research, I had to do the Mary's Room thing and find out, well, what does kids about this feel about the movie, you know.
Right.
But I as an adult and me being closer to the age of the main character, I don't know how to feel about with them because the main character is, yeah, I mean, come on, it kind of cut deeper, right? It kind of hitting close to home with that main character. Like, I admit that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
Indeed.
yeah, right,
Yeah, yeah.
but I was I was wondering, Pixar wrote this for who exactly? Because I don't know how this for kids, given the main character what he had to go through now. And then
Yeah.
it was about him, but it was kind of about 22, but it ended up really being about him. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to feel about it. That
Yeah.
I as a hardback man now, was like, all right, well, Pixar just write this movie for me then. Like, but it's like,
Yeah.
that I study it, but it's like
Yeah.
it's a Pixar movie at the same time. So I don't know how to feel
That's the
about it.
thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just like you. I was just watching this, but I'm like, all right, well, and again, these slapstick stuff. Not
I
seeing that.
get nothing. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get nothing. So
like not seeing that all Pixar films have slapstick humor, right?
nobody
But
emotional.
just the little humor that will have kids giggling and stuff like that.
Well, no,
But
no, but right, exactly. But the emotional dimension of it is something that always catered um to a younger audience until this. Like,
yes,
I would say, like, okay, Riley was the main character of Inside Out, so I could understand why a kid will attach to Riley. It's not to say that this was about a younger character who died, right? The whole point was the guy lived out his life.
right,
Like, he's a middle aged man. But he's a person who kind of in his own way have a kind of arrested development, right?
yeah,
Um, so I'm not sure how to feel this because I don't know who this for in that sense. It's like it's a Pixar movie and I loving it, but who they aiming for? You
yeah,
wonder, right? I'm not sure. And there's that interesting emotional back and forth now.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well,
right,
totally understand, right? But
right,
just to get to my point. So
right,
yeah, I was in the same boat as you. I was like, well, all right, well, I could understand what going on in terms of just well, I could relate it in terms of
yeah,
this existentialism,
yeah, yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
death, all that kind of stuff. Like that's
yeah,
stuff that intrigued me a lot, right? I
right,
love films that touch on that, right? But I was like, but it's a Pixar film though, and I
right.
mean
No, no,
we
like
we
I
well,
know.
what's it? We have
Yeah, go
like
ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah,
well we have 22 who slight spoiler well sorry a character I should say
right,
embodies the body of a cat,
yeah,
and well you still have Joe being Joe, right, more or
right,
less, right. But yeah, but after a while I just kind of forgot about it. I just tell myself, here's what, let me just let the story go flow, let me just see where it's going by.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then it just started hitting my boy. Like I
yeah,
would admit, early on I wasn't sure where the movie was going, and I kind of tuned out of it. But
right,
lucky that I was watching at home, I could always kind of rewind stuff and see what I missed out. But
right,
then
right,
as I
right,
kind of locked into the show, and I meant to take me a while. I'm not gonna say that it's gonna be that for everyone, but especially if you're going with expectations of, oh, it's gonna be a laugh out loud Pixar film with heart, right?
right,
But as I dug in and I remember drama, that's
right.
when it clicked for me, and
It
I just
have,
went into the story proper. And
yeah,
just to
boy,
get this out the way, boy, I kind of love this movie.
yeah,
I
for
did not
real.
expect to love this as
Listen,
much as I did.
it have two parts that cut me real hard, Joe. Two real good parts for me, Joe. The part where he talked to the mother, Joe,
Yes, 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 yes.
with the repants, I told you know.
Hmm.
The suit that was so good, and then when he do the set and then he go on home, I like,
Oh, yeah,
right.
yeah,
I was like, way boy, they
yeah.
do it there, boy. But I really thought the
But
story would have go a different direction though ultimately, yeah, from that.
right,
Given
yeah,
given the quote unquote rules of the system. But
exactly, yeah,
boy, that was real good, Dread.
yeah.
That is
But
when the film was, that was up there with the imaginary friend sacrificing himself, right? Is that level now
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in Inside Out, right? Yeah,
And speaking of that, right? There's a scene that was spoiled that's sort of similar to it, but
yeah,
it's something that was supposed to happen in the story, right near the end.
yeah,
When that happened, boy, I won't lie to you, boy.
yeah,
My tears started
yeah,
well up, eh? And
real hard.
here's the thing that okay, so just before jumping into the stuff that I love about it, right? So the thing that really made the show special to me, Trent, is its message, Trent.
Yeah,
Especially what it has to say about life, right? It's
yeah,
very simple, but it's enough that kids could understand at that point. But the
right.
beauty about the movie is that like the great Pixar films, the older you get, the more things you see from it, you pick up from it, and
Yeah,
that's why I could put this along with Inside Out, which, if you
right.
remember,
Yeah,
was my
and
sole favorite Pixar film
yeah, no,
of the past decade. I
it
have
was no,
that
yeah,
up there with this.
yeah, no. That's the thing with it. It was very similar to Inside Out in that sense, like the aesthetics of it, like how you get the feeling that they use a lot of the same particle effects. Pete Docter directed again, same thing, right? But this just did played out the quote unquote metaphysics a little differently. Um,
Yeah,
as I said,
it did.
right, as I said, I had one small issue, and then I felt the ending kind of pulled its punches, and I'm like, all right, let's fix our film. They probably won't do that. Like I really expected them to do a certain thing, and they didn't do it.
Right. Yeah. Good
Yeah,
thing you bring up that. Good thing you bring up that. Right. So we as just a
right,
touch on something I love. Right. That is
right.
was sorry. That was a nitpick of mine as well too. But I'd imagine if it was
Yeah.
another studio, and if it were
That's the thing. If it
was
was
PG,
if it was like a Studio Ghibli or somebody. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. If it was a
they
Studio
would have
Ghibli,
let the ending that you would expect from a film like
but
this
I mean,
to
my
happen.
ending, well, my ending wasn't too. It's not like my ending dark or anything like that, but the ending I expected. Like it was
Yeah.
the ending I expected. But then they went nice with it. And well, thinking of afterlife movies. One of the movies I always think of is like what's called it boy with Meryl Streep and that fellow. Defending Your Life. You know
Oh yeah,
that
yeah,
movie.
yeah. Which by the way is coming out through the Criterion Collection next year. Haha,
Yeah,
brought to you by Criterion Collection.
it's a movie I absolutely love. It's such a fun movie. It's very funny. Really work. Albert Brooks, right? Albert Brooks starred and directed it.
Yes. Hmm.
It reminds me of that. It's a movie like that, or what do you call it? By it's another heaven movie. These dead movies. You're going to heaven, but heaven or the afterlife or the
Um,
before life is a type of bureaucracy.
Heaven could wait. Heaven
Heaven could
can wait.
wait, right?
That's another one.
Heaven
Yeah.
can wait, right? Right. It's stuff like that.
Yeah.
You always
Yeah.
enjoy these fun little films, and we get back to that in this world.
Yeah.
And as I said, the ending a little saccharine, but look, it's a Pixar film. I didn't have a big problem with it. The
Same,
ending,
same here too. Same here
right?
too. I
All right,
agree. But and to me, yeah, it just kind of had to be this way because of Pixar film, and not just because of
right,
kids, but because of the message
right.
itself. And then, well,
Yeah,
when they drive that message home again, yeah, hit many feels again.
yeah. They
And I
make it
think
work.
really, yeah, really for me though, why it impacted me so deeply, right? This is just me being personal here. Is because literally I watched this a year and a day after my grandmother passed away.
Right.
So
Oh,
just
wow.
hearing, about the value of life now, and I didn't
Yeah,
expect that from this movie
yeah,
because you're just thinking, oh, it's as simple as just following your dreams and just doing the thing that you love, though. But when they let you know, it's really about these simple things, though. And yes, they show it visually, but also through the character of 22 and the stuff that
yeah.
she experiences in
Right.
her
Yeah,
existence, though.
yeah,
That's when it hit my mind. I was like, wow, but like I had to stop for a bit and
yeah,
like yeah, it's really one of those shows that when it ends, boy, you're
yeah.
just thinking about it.
Yes.
Yes,
Did it,
sure. I would
it,
admit the character that you had an issue with, yes, they could have worked in that character a little bit better.
he's a,
And the
yeah,
one
he's a
who I
little
thought you
too.
were referring to, well, the latter
No,
being typical we have to have that Pixar type of character, but this one
right.
here,
I
the
I
former,
didn't have yeah, I didn't have a problem with him per se.
right.
In fact, I find almost all of his bits so pretty funny, and it worked. Like because
And
the whole
I dug his voice by the way. He has
right,
this really snarky British voice, kind of
right,
that
right,
way.
right. But that you had to have a stickler character like that. It's not like he was a villain necessarily. It's like yeah, he had it's the rules, right? It's all about the rules, and then it's like sometimes you bend the rules. And I like how they had the other little the little ones, the little British ones, all the Jerrys. That's the
Yeah,
name,
yeah,
right?
the
All the
tall
other
ones kind of call them out. I love that. Yeah,
right. Yeah, and
yeah,
it's like,
but
yeah, we could turn things off and for what it was.
yeah,
I really thought they would have
but
done.
that
Go
one
ahead.
second, but that character that you referred to, that you referred to, like they could
Yeah,
have kind of used him a little bit more in
yeah.
the
I was.
in the second act. Basically, that's all we'll say.
Yeah, no, yeah. As I said, the character didn't. I didn't hate the character or anything like that. He worked, but I felt he was just a little. At best, I'll say he's a little superfluous, and I felt they could have probably stitched the narrative a little better to make him to either cut him out or have him blend with the world a little better. But I liked him for what it was. I don't think he was particularly funny as it was, and I still kind of on the fence about it because it really felt like a kind of like I'm not sure if they're making it felt like a kind of mental health kind of thing. Like, well, does he use drugs or how exactly is he doing that? And it was
Okay,
a little
I
weird.
understand. Yeah.
It
Right,
was a little weird. Like I
right,
had a whole thing about it, and I don't know if that was trivializing what people like that are
right.
like.
Yeah. We've been talking about nitpicks too. Even well, I mean, we mentioned why we love the show so much, but technical stuff you didn't mention. Voice acting near flawless in my opinion. Though Jamie Foxx kills it as
Right.
Joe Gardner. Tina Fey was great as 22. Some people I didn't think expect to be in the show like Questlove, Priscilla Rashad. But boy, David Diggs, he was in this too. I was like, what? Okay. And points for having him do a rap in the film. I was like, okay, I see you, David, I see you. So you can sneak, so you can hide that voice. And nah, but it's a nice little joke that they make in it as well too. The music though was fantastic, Trent. And I was reminded though it's Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross,
Yeah.
came through
Right.
with jazz music though. Like what? You know what I mean? They do often have some moody ambient, sounds as well too, especially
Right.
when they
Right.
go in the great beyond scenes there. But
Right.
still the jazz stuff just really worked for me, and especially like
Yeah. The
those jazz
only.
performances were
Yeah.
excellent. This is the way how they were,
Right.
put together there. And oh, by the way though, animation was it's
Right. They had a
probably
lot of.
amongst the best I've
Yeah,
seen in
right.
just
Yeah.
animation
Yeah.
period. Like Pixar,
Yeah. Yeah.
always Pixar always finds ways to outshine themselves. But
Right.
this one, I'm like, wow. You could say what
Yeah.
you
No.
want
They.
about the facial features of some of the characters
Right.
that they kind of exaggerate at times. But I was like, you know what, it's animation. Let's slide, whatever. But
Yeah.
just everything else though, just beautiful, just gorgeous to look at.
Yeah, they use some interesting like coloring like aesthetic because maybe it have no like light or shadow in the quote unquote afterlife. So the whole multicolored I forget it's called when you have a monitor that kind of off a little bit
Yeah.
and
It
it
was
has this
weird for me to, it was a weird like
yes
look at first, but
yes but
I
it's
touch into it
interesting.
now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Somebody had a great Twitter thread about it. Yeah, I watched it just like yesterday, I think, and I was like, oh, okay, they was just reading all the technical choices they made with respect to that. No. Well, another thing, a slight disappointment, not a big deal, just a small nitpick. I thought we would have gotten the AJR song from the trailer, in this, and we didn't. That that
Oh,
that
right.
that piano riff with the trumpet from AJR. I
Yeah,
forget the name
with
of the
bum
AJR song.
bum
I think
bum. I forget what you call it, but
right.
it's been
Overture.
showing up on, yeah, it's been showing up on some, well, especially that band has been showing up on some old
Yeah.
stuff list.
Oh, really? Wow.
I haven't really listened to the music, so I can't say,
Right.
but yeah, people, yeah, rubbed off the wrong way by the music. That's all I'll say.
Okay, wow. Okay, I don't
Yeah,
know. I only listen to a couple of the songs and it seem to be okay for me. I don't know. But well, if
right.
if people dragging it, they're dragging it.
Yeah, but
Right.
last before we get to Return, right?
Right.
But yeah, this is easily the most mature Pixar film
Yeah,
we've ever gotten.
emotionally, that's also shocking about it. It's like, dude, this for kids, right? I'm wondering, though. Like
Yeah,
emotionally, it's really up there, though. Like
yeah,
I,
and
I
and
don't know.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and for me personally, that's why I love it so much, though, because
Right.
it just
Right.
had guts to go there. It, you know, it will have the kid friendly stuff here or there, boy, but at its core,
Right.
though, it's just a story that works. And like I
Yeah.
said before, it's one of those movies that, as you watch it, as you grow up and you go back to it over and over, there's always going to be something about it that clicks.
Yeah.
See some slightly controversial here. Not knocking down the other Pixar films though, but they have their time, their place in the sun. You know what I mean? And oftentimes you will kind of show your kids it, like a Toy
Right.
Story or a Finding Nemo and whatnot. But
Right.
those are shows that you just kind of watch for entertainment value, and you get a nice little family friendly message here or there, right? That you could kind of pass on to your kids, right? But I didn't expect something this thought provoking. On the last time we got
Yeah.
that really was with Inside Out. So
Right.
yeah, I'm kind of in the camp that's down for these kind of films though, which yes have
Yeah.
bright, colorful imagery and characters and whatnot, but tell these really true to life stories. Well, I
I
should say
think
true
it
to
was.
life, but just humanistic stories though.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I was shocked at how adult this real skew for the adults though. Like I was like, this for kids, Strat? I wondering though. Like I wondering
Yeah,
what kids gonna appreciate this and not in the same way I appreciate in this. Yeah,
yeah. But
they
but,
kind
but
of they
I still think at the end of the day, kids will like it. But
right.
yeah, honestly, if they go in expecting this thing to be like a Finding Nemo or Dory or Incredibles
Nah,
2,
nah,
nah,
nah.
no.
Yeah. And the thing is had a lot of great jokes in it, for what it was. Like that opening bit with the band playing the Disney theme song terribly. Like
Yeah,
little stuff like
that
that.
was
Yeah.
good. That was good.
Great little
Oh,
bits. Yeah, yeah.
speaking of which,
Right.
points, major points for playing Check the Rhyme from A Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah,
When I heard that, I was like, what?
yeah,
Shredded
yeah,
in a Pixar movie and
yeah,
they're playing Tribe. Talk.
yeah.
But yeah, that warmed my heart, but that was a nice little Christmas gift to give me with that one, man. I wouldn't let lie.
Right.
Yeah, so as a whole, yeah, I really, really dug this film. Yes, it took a while for me to get into because I wasn't sure what I was getting, but
Right.
once I kind of shut that part of my brain off and I just went into the story, I was truly impacted by this one. I would say
Yeah.
this one has a lot of longevity, and for me, that was always a thing, with the great ones now. I know there will be some argument as to, well, is it really as great as say Finding Nemo and all that kind of stuff, which people
Right.
probably watched 10 million times. But this is one definitely where I could always go back to when I'm in the mood, of course. I could go back to and just kind of learn something, especially with this message about life, which really,
Right.
really hit me hard, man. So rating wise, lighter decent 4.5 out of 5, man. This is in my top 10 for
Right.
sure. I'm not gonna say where, but
Uh,
it's top
yeah.
10 for sure, man.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on rating.
Yeah. I before just the last point and just I'll give my rating. Yeah. It's just another thing too as well. The manifestation of New York. Um,
Yes,
they didn't
yes.
expect them to do that such a good job with that. It really feels like New York. It feels like a Bronx, the
Yeah.
brownstones and the
They, they,
barbershops
they
and
had they had subways. Do they have a scene in a subway?
right.
Could talking
Yeah,
about subways. They're like,
yeah, yeah,
wow,
yeah.
yeah.
And they made a good job with that. And the only nitpick, as I say, like other than the character I didn't really care for, and then it had slight inconsistencies with the world building. Characters was feeling pain, but they're not feeling pain here, and little stuff like that. That doesn't really bother me, but again, it's fine. Overall, yeah, I give it like a very, very high 9 out of 10. I will say it's probably my top 10 picks for the sheer maturity of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, that's the reason why it gets not as high as Ratatouille or something like that. But again,
Right.
it have the disadvantage of coming in 2020 after all of these great films and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
But that's about it. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
very, very high score film. I loved it.
Yeah, so guys, we highly recommend this show. And yeah, I mean you could show the kids it. I mean, they would entirely be freaked out by it, even though it addresses, it talks about death and whatnot. But I mean, it's a part of life, right? So it is what it is. But it's just the powerful messages about life itself that
Yeah,
yeah, you would resonate with adults and kids alike. But yeah, like you, I'm curious to see how kids respond to it. I don't think they'll be turned off or bored by it because of the color and the characters and the voice acting and whatnot. But yeah, the longevity of it, I'm really curious to see. But for me, this is one I'm going to be going back to, lots of times, especially like with Inside Out, and just learn something new
right.
with every listen. Sorry, with every viewing. So yeah,
Yeah.
can't recommend the show enough. Strongly recommend you check out Soul. It's real deal.